Hey, how you doing? This is John and RJ. Welcome to Comic Book Team Up. RJ, can you hear me? Everything okay?
Yep, I'm here.
You're so quiet. Yeah, so I guess me and RJ never really planned anything. We just kind of just talk off the cuff and listen to me go off track and talk like a crazy person. But tonight, I figured we'd talk about Sal Buscema since he just sadly passed away. I think he was 89 or 90. I don't know all the details. So I know he's one of your favorites.
Oh yeah, he wrote quite literally the best comic ever. I mean, he drew the best comic ever, which was the Destroyer arc ending, which Walter Simonson did almost every issue for, except for the very last one.
Yeah. Do you remember the number? While we're talking about it.
320. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I remember I did a video on it. Oh, Thor 320 brings me scopes.
No, it's more like 369, 370 maybe. Not sure.
Yeah, 370. But anyway,
I'm not sure. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up.
I remember exactly what it looks like. 383 or 3.
Yeah, 383. You're right, 383.
383. So, yeah, I was going to bring up something else, but since you went right to that, I'll bring up that. Today technology is driving me absolutely crazy. That's not it either, but whatever. I can't find it. Anybody know the exact number? 383, 382, something around there. Oh, okay, finally. I think this is the cover. And I think the cover is Walt Simonson.
Well, the cover is Walter Simonson, yep.
Yeah. So, Sequential Treasure says, RJ, check your email. And Vaz says, hello. Arkham's Attic says, yeah, Rip Sal. Yeah, it was kind of sad because I turn on Twitter and I see everybody, happy birthday, Sal Buscema, happy birthday, Sal Buscema. And then like 20 minutes later, rest in peace, Sal Buscema. I'm like, did they get it mixed up? So he died on his birthday? Does anybody know exactly? Here's the links. Zach Tan. I'm having a stressful day. So I'm looking forward to talking about comic books with RJ.
Yeah, he died in his birthday. No, he died on the 24th. And he was born on the 26th. So yesterday would have been, I don't know, a couple of days ago.
So people were arrested, wishing him happy birthday. They didn't hear the news yet. Okay. So Tony Grigo says, the last of the Marvel bullpen has left us. Wow, I didn't even realize that. But I think you're right, Tony. Is there anybody else from the... So whenever I thought about the Marvel bullpen, when I was a kid, Stan Lee was active in all the comics, either in the letters page or then later on he wrote the Stan soap ops, and he was always talking about the bullpen. And I always thought it was like you went to Marvel Comics and it was like Jack Kirby over here drawing the High Evolutionary, then over there there's Steve Ditko drawing Spider-Man, and over here, but that wasn't what it was. By the 70s, everybody was working from home and either mail in their artwork to Marvel Comics, or they would send like little kids to your house. Literally, they called them woodchucks, and these woodchucks would they would go to Marvel Comics and Stan would write down the address, give them Long Island Railroad tickets, and these kids would go to like Jack Kirby's house, knock on the door. Jack Kirby's wife Rosalind would give them a sandwich. They would talk with Jack for a little bit. Jack would give them all the pages. Maybe they would drop off a paycheck. It sounds so quaint. Little 12-year-old kids driving the trains and subways, stuff like that. Would parents allow their kids to do that these days? But it was a different thing in the 70s. But in the 50s, before Marvel Comics even existed, that was when the bullpen existed. When Marvel Comics was Atlas Comics. And that's when you would go to the building and the guys, they would have a black tie, a white shirt, smoking cigarettes, probably drinking a beer and coffee, drawing, That would have been so much fun. I would have loved to have visited that. And Chuck Dixon says that he never was part of the bullpen. He's too late for that. But when he worked for CrossGen in Florida, that was one of the things. If you were one of the staffers, you had to work there. You had to go to work. He said he loved it. He said, that guy over there was drawing, that guy over there was writing, and they would like literally, how do you spell this? How do you draw? And like, I need help. Like one guy would work on another guy's page while another guy would work. He said it was so much fun. He says he misses that. I don't know. I think that would be so much fun to be part of that Marvel bullpen, back in the high point of that. But yeah, Tony, it's sad to think they're all gone. They're all gone. Yep.
So I know that he was originally from Brooklyn, but where did he live his last little bit? I don't know. Was he still in New York?
I don't even know. I sent him emails to try to come on my channel, but no response. My secret weapon was Facebook. All the old timers are still on Facebook. So I'm looking up Wikipedia now to see where he lived. I never even thought that. Early life education, early year, Marvel Comics, later year. In February, started dating Joe, the secretary creative. Okay. Yeah, he died on January 24th at 89, 2 days before his birthday. It doesn't say where he lived. Yeah, I don't know. If anybody knows where he lived at the end, but yeah, I know him and John, his brother, were Brooklyn boys. I'll tell the only Sal Buscema story that I have is when I went to John Romita Sr.'s house. He lived next door to one of my coworkers, and my coworker is a big sports guys fan. He's not a comic book fan, but like everybody my age, he got comic books as a kid. We met, RJ, I know you're not that much younger than me, but remember that when we were kids, everybody had comic books. They were everywhere. Yeah. Maybe you didn't collect them, but everybody was a casual comic book fan because they were everywhere. They were cheap. Everybody ended up having comic books. But so he's like, yeah, he draws Spider-Man. John Romita. I was like, oh my god. So long story short, I go to John's house and we spent hours just talking, and he was saying that John Romita was telling me himself that he was such a perfectionist, and he that's a lot of times, like, he was literally, they were standing there, finish that panel, we got to take it to press, and he was just like, hold on, like, no, we can't hold on, like they would rip it out of his hands kind of thing. And he said every time he saw Sal Buscema, he would hide, because Sal Buscema used to bust his chops because John Romita would erase all the time, and Sal would be like, what are you doing erasing? What are you doing racing? Use those lines. You put the lines on the paper, you figure it out what to do with them. He goes, the way to make money is you got to be quick. And he said that this was like the early 70s, and Sal Buscema was the first comic book artist to make over $100,000. And this was like legendary money because Sal was quick. He was quick and he was professional, and he wasn't too particular about what you gave him an assignment, he did it. Whereas John wanted to do more macho, Conan, war and stuff. Like, neither one of them liked superheroes that much. That was their least favorite thing to do. So John was always looking to do tough guy stuff, barbarians, fantasy, Western, war comics. Whereas Sal was just like, just give me an assignment. I got bills to pay. And he would just do it quick.
Funny, because to me, the thing that really got me into Amazing Spider-Man was the Sal Buscema run. To me, I think I would say Sal Buscema on Amazing Spider-Man is the equivalent of Jim Aparo on Batman.
Yeah. Jim Aparo is my Batman. That's my Batman artist when I started collecting Batman. So, everybody likes their, their first girlfriend, their first car, their first Batman artist. So yes. Has Marie Severin passed away? Oh, that's a good. I don't know. Tony, is Marie Severin still alive? I something tells me she passed a while ago. I can't remember that, but yeah. So this is your favorite comic book of all time.
Yeah, the end of the Destroyer run. Actually, it's not that issue. It's the one where Thor is on the cover and he's standing on top of a frost giant and he's swinging his hammer around. But it's the next one after this. Anyways, because I think Walter Simonson still did the art in this one. It's the last one in the arc where Wasabi Buscema took over for the art.
Oh, okay. Thor 383, I think it is. Images.
That being said, you tweeted out his work on ROM, and quite honestly,
yeah, I was going to bring that up.
That is really good. That anybody wants to go and find a good series to buy, yeah, I think they have it in omnibus form now. Is go buy Marvel's ROM. That's really really good.
I was going to bring that up. Yes. Oh, no wonder I've been spelling Buscema wrong all these years. Oh, that's why. That's why I'm having such problems. Autofill just brought it in. Of course, now the image that I want is not popping up. So Buscema ROM is what I want. Yeah, I remember seeing this page because it was yeah, here we go. This image was an ad in the comics, and it was in every comic. Okay, here it goes. This was an ad in every comic, and of course I can't make it bigger. But so you flip it through the comic book, you read Spider-Man, you read the Fantastic Four, and you see this, and this was the first page in ROM. It was, it served two purposes. It was a great poster to get you interested, and it was a great splash page. And this is what I'm trying to do with Eddie is Doomed. The first page of the comic is the ad, So I'll get back to that because Tonic Ball's finishing up some pages. I'll start pushing that again. But that's the same thing. I want to take the first page of Eddie is Doomed and use that as the advertisement for Eddie is Doomed. That's a side project that I'm doing. I call it a mix between Crisis on Infinite Earths and Love and Rockets. But why can't I get a bigger image of this? But I think ROM is probably my favorite run by Sal Buscema. It's just so good, and it's such a bizarre comic because I'll get another image. It's such a bizarre comic because it's based on a toy, and I know I catch hell whenever I say this, but it was based on a crummy toy. My friend of mine had it. I used to call it the in-action figure. It didn't really do anything. Its arms went like this. It made noises, and I know Brian Bow was he's I begged it for ROM was awesome. He loved it, but I didn't. But so I bought the comic out of loyalty because it's a first issue. But man, it was such a good comic that you wouldn't expect. It was based on what Mattel slapped together toy, and then they made such a mythology about it. And if you remember, it became a big deal in the X-Men. The X-Men for a good 2 years were fighting dire wraiths instead of other mutants and stuff. And then the dire wraiths went into Doctor Strange, the Defenders. All the raw mythology spread throughout Marvel, and then it disappeared, and we kind of just forgot about it. Well, they lost the rights to ROM. So if you remember, instead of saying ROM, they would say Space Knight. That was how they kept the Space Knight popular, or the name going. But the dire wraiths were Marvel. I'm surprised. Does anybody know they still use them? I spelled Severance right, but autocorrect. I started buying Reading Thor when Ron Friends took over, so I missed his run. But I do remember the Golden Armor. But I did read ROM, yes. And then ROM just recently got an omnibus because Marvel lost the rights to it. And I guess, what was it, Hasbro or Mattel? They made a deal where they can reprint it. But you read ROM, right?
Oh yeah. The thing that really ticked me off was the fact that I did not buy the first issue. It was about the third or fourth issue when I started reading. I was like, "This is great," and I could not go back and find the first issue for years and years and years.
Oh, really? I think I have like 3 copies. You know, it's I don't know what happened. I have a theory that if you bag and board the comics and you don't disturb them for a long time, they breed. Because sometimes I have extra copies of comics, and I never really bought. Like, I have a bunch of comics, but I never buy 2 of the same comic. You know, I that is just like a bad road to go down on. You know, if I started buying multiple copies, I would have no room in my house. The only comic I purposely bought 2 copies was, and this is was a Tarzan #1 from Marvel. I was like, this is going to be worth so much. It was the first time I ever speculated, and I think it was 30 cents cover price, and it's probably worth 35 cents. So I made a nickel if I sell it. Rom like the Micronauts comics outlasted the toys. Absolutely. Yeah. The Micronauts was another comic book based on it. These licenses really were a godsend for Marvel. I mean, think about it. In the 80s, they had G.I. Joe, Transformers, Rom, Micronauts,
Godzilla,
Shogun
Warriors.
Yeah, the Shogun Warriors and Godzilla's. That didn't last too long.
Well, the Godzilla actually lasted for at least 20 issues, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, Rom lasted, I think, 100, and I know the Micronauts lasted over 100. You know, Star Wars, but that's not a toy. That's a movie. I mean, Star Wars is a toy, but
funny thing is, okay, sidebar here, but the toys that we're talking about, we're saying action figures for Marvel in early 80s, late 70s. They were like 2 feet high. Just anybody know? It's because I remember having Batman. Or no, it was a Spider-Man. He actually shot webs out of his hand. It was like 2 feet, right?
Yeah. It was. This ROM was in the same scale with that Spider-Man. I call that Spider-Man the in-action figure because it's just a pose like this, one hand up and one hand down, and it had a motor inside of it. It had a battery that you put a battery in it. You flip a little switch on its back, and the motor would pull. And the motor did a few things. You had like a web line. So the web was just like this heavy rubber thing that you plop down on something and then had a string tied to it, and the string would retract. You know what I mean? So it looked like web lines. He had little like magnets on his feet or little like contacts, and you plug them in, and his helicopter would spin around. You know, but I never bought it because to me, action figures are supposed to move. If the action figure doesn't move, it's just a figure. The action is the posability. Like, you know, the later on DC and Marvel Legends, those are my favorite. You know, even though I was an adult, I was like, if I had these toys as a kid, I wouldn't have needed friends. And Robert Kirkman needs to add Rom to his Energon universe. That would work. You know, Rom up against the Transform. Yeah, take all the toys, put all the toys together in one toy universe. I know. I'm a big Robert Kirkman fanboy, but I haven't gotten his Transformers. I just never liked the Transformers. Never liked Transformers. Never liked He-Man. So like everybody's talking about He-Man right now. It's just like it's a stupid name for it. It's a stupid name, so I never liked the character. You can always include that comic and add on to the next campaign with man's make a nickel for that. Yeah, there you go. I get my nickel back. Micronauts with 3-inch scale, and Rom was like 18 inches, which is why they made Rom a giant in the comic. My Marvel action figures were pretty rigid, but the arms could move, and they were each about a foot tall. Yes, you talk about the Migos with the cloth clothes. I love those. I really wish you would read them. The G.I. Joes, it's so good. Yeah, the Energon. I'm reading the old Marvel G.I. Joes. You know, it'll be a while before I make it up to the Energon universe. I picked up Marvel Legend. I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted to get it, Tony. Don't like Transform. I know. I don't like. I was too old for Transformers. I was too old for Transformers. Like my little brother was into Transformers and He-Man. I was into Micronauts and Star Wars toys. Larry Hammer's G.I. Joe is just, I'm really liking it. I'm really liking it. I didn't like military comics as a kid. To me, comic books were superheroes, you know, and occasionally sci-fi and very rarely fantasy, you know, but so I didn't get Conan or anything like that. Now as an adult, I'm reading anything. as far as comics. And I'm reading the Larry Hama GI Joes. I just got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm really enjoying them. What I'm liking about them is the loyalty of the team members. You know, so that's where the Nickelback name comes from. Where Nickelback? I don't
You got a Nickelback from the Tarzan. He's saying.
Oh, I got a Nickelback for the. There you go. So, yeah, so I am to blame for so many things. Now I'm also to blame for the band Nickelback.
So I find the funny thing about Rom, or talking about Sal Buscema, is the fact that he gave this character such depth, even though there was 0 facial expressions basically you could put on this character.
Right. And I think other people didn't want to do this comic because it was based on such a lousy toy. And like I said, Sal was just like, it's a job. Give me a job and I'll do a job. And he does it justice. You know, I remember there's this scene right in the first issue where he blasts the dire wraiths were aliens that would come to Earth and then shape change into human form. They would literally kill you, and then as you died, they would take over your form. That was really, really horrific. But humans didn't know. So when Rom was coming and blasting people, they thought he was murdering people. And I just remember there was one scene where he's blasted all of these people, and they had this face, and I call that face the Sal Buscema thug.
Oh, so,
yeah, he reused that face over and over again. It was just the bad guy's face. And so Marcus Kellergrew is drawing a comic for me, and I put that in the script. Draw some Sal Buscema thugs, and he knew exactly what it's talking about. And there's a close up of the Sal Buscema thug face on. It's so good. I can't wait till that story comes out. When it goes to IDW, stop reading and pick it up when Skybound gets the rights. It's fire. Yeah, that's what I heard. Yep. What was the last comic Sal Buscema worked on? Oh, okay. I got the Wikipedia up. Maybe he'll say. What was the last thing he worked on? I don't know. In 2017, he started inking with longtime collaborator Ron Frenz on The Blue Baron, written by Darren Henry and published by the new company Sit Comics. He also collaborated with Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz on the Right Project for Apex Comics. A one-shot comic was crowdfunded. Oh, that's right. When Tom DeFalco was on my channel, he told me about that. That's right. So I think the last comic he worked on was the Right Project for Apex Comics with Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz. That's right. Yeah. And I asked Tom DeFalco, how can I get it? And he said, you can't get it anymore. It was just like they printed it, sent them out. So looks like eBay is the only way to get the stuff. And it just went up $100 this week from all those damn speculators. Yeah, the Marvel Legends ROM comes with a tiny issue of ROM #1 from the whole. That's cool.
So you're saying that you had one of your artists do the Sal Buscema face. For me, for Valiant Heroes #1, when I gave instructions to Renzo to create the creatures, the monsters that were coming out of the portal, they were Sal Buscema monsters from Magique.
Oh, okay. Like demon looking.
That miniseries. I love that miniseries when it first came out.
Yeah, I that's right. He that was with Velasco and Elijah Rasputin. Oh, I forgot that was Sal Buscema. Okay. So,
and that's that's him doing X-Men too as well, because X-Men are the back end of that entire story. So you get some really good X-Men. Plus, there's a whole Limbo storyline. He does it so well. I mean, I just love his creatures were just out of, I don't know, some strange part of your mind.
Yeah, it's mean to say, but everybody raved about John Buscema during his lifetime. I think John Buscema got the accolades that he deserved, but I don't think Sal Buscema got the accolades that he deserved. I always, from what I heard from talking to Pro, that Sal was always a little bit more like, it's just a job, I'm good at it. It's a good way to pay the bills kind of thing. Whereas John Buscema was like, he wanted to be a great artist, and Sal wanted to have a comfortable lifestyle, which is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
And he didn't get it during his life either, because I can remember having a conversation in the comic store when I started buying the Amazing Spider-Man full time because of his art, and everybody's looking at me going, "You like the art?" And I'm going, "Yeah, I love it." And they're like, "Okay, I suppose I don't get it," but a lot of guys at the comic store did not see the appeal of his art on Spider-Man, which I loved.
Yep. I'm trying to get into Twitter now has all these encryptions, and it's driving me crazy.
Yeah, I agree. If I don't respond to you, by the way, John, when you send me a direct message, is because I'm not getting them unless I sign in and then sign in again. It's ridiculous.
Right. I'm trying to sign in now so I can show you that image that I'm talking about. I could do it on my phone, but I can't do it on my computer. And okay, there we go. Finally. All right. I just want to show you what Marcus drew as the John Romita face. And of course, it's not here because the new Twitter algorithm won't let me. I don't know. This is the worst stream ever. Just this is just me being frustrated with technology. I could go on and on and on about what's bothering me. Okay, maybe. Oh, great. This new Twitter stuff. I could get messages from like last message is 3 weeks ago. Forget it. I'm going to smash all computers. All computers need to be smashed. That's my solution. Let's go back to Amish. In the 90s, lots of image kids made fun of his work. Yeah, well, Sal Buscema was old timer artwork. He was. I don't know if he was some of the original like Jack Kirby was original comic book artist, like first generation. Like Matt Baker and then I think John Buscema and Sal Buscema were like second generations. They were younger, if I remember. I'm sure Tony knows better than me. But by the time Image came around, these were like fourth generation artists. And because when I got into Marvel, 74 is the year that I started collecting comics seriously. And I could I looked at Marvel Comics, and to me, Marvel Comics was John Buscema. That's the way Marvel looked. That was the house style. I couldn't tell the difference between John Romita and John Buscema at the time. Now I can, but at the time that was just Marvel Comics. And then Sal Buscema, I knew it was different, but it was all the same kind of stuff. And then when I saw Jack Kirby stuff, that was old people's comics. That was old man comic. I didn't like that. That was old fashioned comics. And then George Perez and John Byrne came along, and they were like, that's the way comic books are supposed to look. And I still have that in my head now. That's the way comics are supposed to look. But so even to me, I could see Sal Buscema was like a little old fashioned, but I grew to really like it. He was a jobber who could do great work. Yeah, absolutely. Like he was quality, he was fast, and he did everything. And since he passed, I've been seeing a lot of his artwork that uncolored, like the original pencils. Oh my God, it's so much better. I'm gonna look to see if I can find any John Romita pencils.
Well, he was originally
an
inker, and he wanted to be an inker, except his brother pushed him to be a penciler.
And I had it backwards. I always thought that Sal was the older brother, but he's the younger brother. Pencils. Let's see if I can find any pencils. It's so like I love seeing, like, if you see John Byrne's pencils or Neil Adams pencils, now I see why people are buying like artist editions. Oh yeah, look at this. Okay, this is so cool. Look at this. This is one of his famous covers. Look at that. See, can I make it bigger? No, I can't. Oh yeah, I can. Okay, can make it a little bigger. But I love that. Oh, this is just a sketch, though. This isn't the actual comic. This looks like a convention sketch. I'm a little sauced right now. I'm celebrating paying off the mortgage. Oh, congratulations! Good for you, man. I can't wait. I figure another 2.5 years or so. Yeah, you know, yeah. His style kept evolving up into '90s. Oh man, good for you. That's the best news I heard all day. Good for you, man. You paid off the mortgage. You know, how you doing, George Morales? How's everybody? So, anybody else? Anybody in the chat have any Sal Buscema artwork that they want to talk about? Show? I'll point out. I'm trying to find some good stuff. Oh, here's a great one. I remember this. I remember this so well. This was like my era of Captain America. Look at that. That's like just Marvel to me. That's the way comic books are supposed to look. Like as a kid, because I didn't know about inking. So whoever I knew somebody drew it and then somebody colored it. Like I always knew that, but I didn't know inking was a stage. So and even if I did know about inking, I didn't realize that like one inker will drastically alter somebody's style. So like, Marvel, John or Sal would draw something and then John Romita would ink it or somebody else would ink it. So like it kind of like blurred to me. Like I didn't have the discerning eye, nor did I really care when I was 11, 12 years old. I just wanted to see Captain America beating up the Red Skull. It just turned into a Marvel house style. Just like DC, like what's his name? Jose Garcia Lopez. He kind of formatted the 70s DC style. I just love this. This is so nostalgic. Like, does this look old fashioned to you guys in the chat? RJ, is this old fashioned to you?
Well, it's old fashioned in the good way. It's the way, right. Yeah, I agree with you. This is the way the comics should look. And besides that, I mean, I think one of the beautiful things about a lot of the artists, including Sal Buscema, is the fact that they were able to draw in a way that allowed the colorists to make everything pop. And that's exactly what he's doing here in this cover.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some Hulks. Some Sal Buscema.
Oh, yeah, some good Hulk and Abomination stuff that he did as well.
Yeah. Here's a She-Hulk that just is here. I'll bring this up to the screen. Yeah. Can everybody hear us? That I took us off to make the art bigger? Anybody have just let me know.
Oh, the UFOs. Yes.
Yeah.
He created the UFOs. I forgot about that.
Those days, the background itself was art. Yep. Look at that. I'm just, let's see, can I make, I love that face. That's like the Sal Buscema female face. Okay, sound is good. That's good. And it's funny because John Buscema said that he didn't really draw beautiful women. And I still remember, was it Silver Surfer 3 when the original Silver Surfer series when Mephisto challenges the Silver Surfer and like he's like basically mimics Jesus being tempted, the 3 temptations, and then he gives Mephisto's like, oh, you want women? You're in love with Shalabert? Here's some women. And I always remember those 3 women, like they had such like, what's the good word to use? That whenever RJ's around, I watch what I say. They had like such lascivious looks on their face. Is that a good word, RJ? That made me hide the comic from my parents. Like I didn't exactly know everything, but I knew it was like sexy, Yeah. So John Romita drew beautiful women. Sal Buscema, he drew, I hate to say it, but handsome women. They were well proportioned and stuff, but their faces weren't beautiful. But I loved it. I haven't seen this cover in so long.
Actually, UFOs are the group that, well, I have a story that I haven't even begun yet. I have it in my head, and I have like the first chapter written in my head, and I want to make it one of my new projects. But it's not really based on the UFOs, but I always think of the UFOs because it's four friends that get basically maimed. So it's really weird to look back and see how much his work actually affected me. Because again, I got a story that I want to write based on the UFOs. I got a story that I've already published based on his demons in Magic, the miniseries, and just I love his Spider-Man, and I think again he drew one of the best, if not the best, comic ever. So anyway,
Oh, okay. So you were asking for Hulk and the Abomination. So I'll give you some Hulk and the Abomination. See if this takes you back. I love that. I do think Sal Buscema is probably my favorite Hulk artist. With a follow up to Steve Ditko's the Steve Ditko's Angry Hulk. I thought the early Jack Kirby Hulks, he was kind of like a Frankenstein monster, and then when Ditko took over, Hulk had like an angriness to him, a bitterness to him, and then the Sal Buscema Hulk was like the childlike Hulk. Sultry is a good word. I remember my grandpa served in the European theater during World War II, had a bunch of military comics. I liked reading them as a kid. Yeah, I didn't like military comics as a kid. And not because I was like philosophically opposed or I hated Vietnam. I didn't know any of that stuff. I had a very positive, and still do have a positive outlook on the military. I just thought that TVs and movies did the military's best. So there was no need for military comic books. I know it's simplistic, but I was a child. Until recently, when I say recently, I'm talking like 15 years or so, superheroes couldn't really be done in live action. It was always cheesy. It was always just like, okay, this is the best we could do. So comic books had to be superheroes. Like Star Wars showed back in 1977 that they could do sci-fi. And they probably could have done superheroes if they really, really, really wanted to. But, it wasn't until this first Superman movie came that showed everybody that superheroes can be done in a movie. Yep. Ben Sabar, Rip Sal. Yep. Anybody know how he died? I mean, I heard conflicting reports. Some people say that it was a heart attack. I don't know. I just hope he went quick.
I'm just assuming that he was 2 days away from 90. I just say old age. No one ever says that anymore. Just old age.
Right. Yeah. Somebody said, do you suspect foul play? I was like, he was 89 years old. I mean, what was he doing for foul play? I mean, yeah, 89 years old. I always say to people, like, 79 years and younger, I mourn their loss. 80 and above, I celebrate their life. Hope I make it to 80. You know what I mean? Any year after 80 is a gift. Just look at that. There's the Absorbing Man, my favorite. Just this looks like it was recolored for, the newsprint color was always just a little bit more like, I don't know, absorbed by the paper or whatever. I guess whenever I see old comics on a computer, I guess the light shining through them just makes them look a little off to me. I know, old people complaining.
It was this era of Hulk was where he basically started out with him as the Desert Hulk, which had been the run up until that point where he's out in the desert a lot of the time, and he became almost generic action hero kind of thing where he started fighting various super villains from other places like Absorbing Man and stuff like that. Absorbing Man originally was I think a Thor villain.
Right. He's an Asgardian. Oh, here's a run of Sal Buscema that I know I don't talk about as much as I should. Let's bring this up. His Spectacular Spider-Man run. This was really good. This was if I remember correctly, this was like the Kingpin's son, the Rose, who was like foiling all the Kingpin's plans out of he hate my dad kind of thing. This was a really good run. I like what he drew. When he drew Spider-Man, this is going to sound like a weird comment. I'll make this even bigger. When Sal Buscema drew Spider-Man, to me, it's the way Jack Kirby Spider-Man should have looked instead of the unfortunate Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby, as much as I love Kirby, couldn't draw Spider-Man.
This is also why his run on Spider-Man is also why I really hate what they done with Tombstone, because to me, he cemented the look of Tombstone, and the look of Tombstone in the Sal Buscema Spider-Man. You get albino. You don't get albino black guy, which is what they have him as now, and it's his whole identity.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be like graven stone or something like that, right?
Yeah,
like Tombstone. Yeah, he was supposed to be like granite or something. Yeah, he looked sharp and hard when Sal Buscema drew him. I agree with you. He when they make him look like just like a human rather than just like figure carved from stone. Like to me, Tombstone was like a marble statue, but like not a marble statue carved by Michelangelo. It had like rounded cheeks. He was like hard and angular. Like punching Tombstone would cut your fingers.
Basically, the Marvel equivalent of Darkseid from Super Friends.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, okay. I'll buy that. I'm looking for more Sal Buscema that we haven't seen yet. Okay, here's a commission, but this will show what I was talking about the way he drew women. But here's a commission of like I said, he drew handsome women. Like I'm not gonna lie, because he's gone now, and what's the word, glazes over. He drew handsome women. RJ and John, I believe that hyper-realistic art hurts indie comics because it hurts production time and is too expensive. Comics were meant to be fun, bright, bold, and dynamic cartoon panels. I agree to a certain extent. Hyper-realism is fine in certain genres. Like I'll like, why can't, was it Herb Trimpe? Herb Trimpe, they revised short-lived Savage Tales, and I think it was Herb Trimpe. He did like aviator stories, airplanes, and the hyper-realism really, really made it look cool. That he drew airplanes really, really well. But for superheroes aren't realistic. So I'm going to agree with you that for superhero comic books, maybe even like, I don't know, sci-fi, but the sci-fi cool looking ships could look real. But for superhero comics, if it gets hyper realistic, to me, I don't know, it doesn't work. It doesn't. What do you think, RJ?
Well, actually, I'll bring this up. Hopefully, I won't quite get us too far off track. So I had this exchange on X this week. Someone posted under my Make Comics Beautiful Again.
Yep.
What do you mean? Then they posted 4 evergreen covers of variant covers for Wonder Woman and Batman and stuff like that with hyper realistic, beautiful women doing nothing, right? And I tweeted back saying, yeah, but then you get this crap in the interiors, and I showed them 4 panels from the interiors, and it's just garbage. It's got its own style, which is not hyper realistic, but it doesn't fit comics either because it's so drab and so. This is what I was saying before about the Captain America cover. You have to work within the boundaries of the medium that you're in. And, Sal Buscema is an example of that, because you got to realize it's going to be colored. You got to realize it's on a comic page, all these kinds of things. And he did so in that, I don't know, because to me, comics are it's not a one-man job. It's not a one-man show. It's everybody working together. And he did that. He did his job extremely well, because you get these crappy new comics. And I'm like, this is the first time I actually looked up the new Batman and stuff like that they have out right now. And the horrible art in it is just ridiculous. And it does have a cartoony style to it, but it doesn't fit. I mean, this is what you should get in the background right now. That's the kind of cartoony. There's a different kind of cartoony that does not work, and that's what you get today.
Yeah, I also like I never noticed this because I would just pick up the comic book and read. But now that I'm doing like Sunday shows and late night shows talking about it comic, I'm being a little bit more analytical. And I'm like what he said, the hyperrealism, like a lot of comics, they'll do an establishing shot. They'll do like a couple of panels where you see the background, and then they'll be like half the page. You don't even see the backgrounds. It's just all colored red or colored blue, but your brain fills in the details. You know they're in the laboratory or the volcano. I think the hyperrealism does it slow down. I think if you're a professional, like Renzo puts in all the backgrounds, it doesn't slow him down. He's quicker than most. But I think people just get caught up. I got to fill in all the details. No, it's a comic book. It's too ridiculously created concepts beating each other up for half the book. Just put it on the page. Like look at these characters right here. Look at the Thing there in the bottom left corner. That's a ridiculous character, but I love that character. That's my second favorite comic book character of all time. You know what I mean? Like, how realistic are you gonna get that? Like, he's so unrealistic that even in the movie right now that just came out, he still doesn't look right. Like, there's almost no way to make the Thing look real. He's a comic book character. He's like the quintessential comic book character. Like, Storm could look real. You could put a good looking woman in an outfit. Nightcrawler is a human figure with some blue makeup. Hulk, they did Hulk pretty good, but the Thing, you can't make that realistic. There's no way to make that. And the more realistic you make the Thing, the more silly it looks. I just like hyperrealism in video games as well. Just a personal preference. When I play a game, I want it to look like a game. Okay. What did you take on Sal Buscema's Graviton, created 153? I love Graviton. Matter of fact, I'll try to get some Graviton. But yeah, that is my favorite run of the Avengers, the 150 to 200 Sal Buscema comics. Let me see if I can get Graviton.
If I remember correctly, it's the Graviton storyline is what they stole for the Ultron storyline in the Avengers movie.
Oh yeah, when he lifted up the.
Yep.
They mushed together a whole bunch of stuff in that. But you're right. Yeah, he lifted up the city. Graviton did all that kind of stuff. Just, I'm being tight-lipped, but I have a Graviton homage in my comics. And Patriarch number 3 is when he scheduled to appear. Okay, what's going on? Oh, it's not coming out. Okay, so that image does not want to work. So how about we'll try that image? It's so small. Come on, I just want to get Graviton. There's other people drawing Graviton, but not the Sal Buscema one. Oh well, I couldn't. I'm scrolling down, seeing if I could find it. It just when I clicked on it to see the image, it got like a. Will that work? Okay, it's small, but it'll work. Let's see. Okay, that'll work. But I love this character. Graviton was a great film. To the point, I it's funny now to admit this, but I remember reading that comic, and Graviton, for those of you who don't know, controls gravity, and he was just handedly beating the Avengers, just tossing them around like they were amateurs. And I remember as a kid, it was a 2-part story. I'm going, how are they going to beat him? He's too powerful. Like, I actually fell for it. I thought the Avengers were going to lose. like they all die. They cancel the comic. You know what I mean? Like that ain't going to happen. The only hyper-realistic stuff I like is from Alex Ross. It's funny because I really like Alex Ross, but I don't like when he does the whole comic. Like, I liked Marvel's because it was the first time, but it's so realistic that it feels like professional wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, you can see the seams in the costume stuff, and I do like it. I do like it, but I want, like, I don't know, like John Byrne level of. John Byrne has the perfect level of realism and cartoony. I know I could sing here I am singing the praise of John Byrne on a memorial for Sal Buscema. The story being bad 9 times out of 10 definitely hurt comics, but when you have a beautiful, great cover art, and when you open it up, it's all stick art that upsets people. Yeah, I hate the bait and switch. Like for my comic books, I'll for my comics, my personal opinion is the interior artist does the cover. And I do a variant cover because people want to see a variant cover. But for the most part, like Renzo does the cover if Renzo's doing the art. If Arkham's doing the story, Arkham will do the cover. And maybe, I'll get somebody else to do a variant cover, because why not? One variant cover. I'm not trying to do 54 variant covers to build people out of their work. But that to me is like a woman with a filter on. You see this woman on Instagram and look how beautiful it is. And then her filter goes off and she's like an old hag or something like that. It's just deceptive. Like I don't like it because in the early X-Men, Dave Cockrum did a lot of the covers, and then you open it up and it was John Byrne. But I didn't notice that as a kid because it seemed like it was like they had Terry Austin inking it, so it kind of looked like John Byrne unless you really, really examined it. But I hate that when they hire like Scott Campbell to do the cover and then you open it up and it's inferior art. That to me is like deceptive. But I guess look at it in the store first before you buy it.
So let me get you off on a tangent here, John. I think one of the longest runs I think Buscema did was probably on Defenders.
Yes.
And that's one of the series that you really love, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I the Defenders was the weird Avengers. Yeah, Arthur Adams. Yeah, he's one of the best comic book artists of all time, and he's notoriously slow. That is why on your first date you take her swimming, so you know what she looks like without her makeup on. Yeah, yeah. I remember that. There was a girl that I was friends with back in college, and she said that she got upset because it was the first time I ever heard that, but she went on a date with the guy and he wanted to take her swimming, and she canceled the date, and I was like, why? And she looked at me like I was nuts, like I'd never heard that before, and she's like, he was basically saying I wear too much makeup. I was like, how do you get that out of like? I was just so stupid. I didn't get it. She had to explain it to me. She did wear a lot of makeup though, so she's very pretty even without a makeup. But I guess that's the style. Is this Sal? Yes. Okay. I click on it and it's not. But I'm trying to get some Sal Buscema Defenders. Okay.
Because he worked on most of those characters in different series. Now that I remember, because he worked on Hulk, he worked on Submariner, and I think he did some Silver Surfer with his brother, at the very least doing inking.
And he did Submariner. Yes, yeah. The original Defenders, the concept was let's put all of Marvel's most powerful heroes on one team. So it was Marvel double feature, I think it was. Number 1 is the first appearance of the Defenders, although the Defenders, those heroes who became the Defenders, showed up as a team in an Avengers comic first. So depending upon who you ask, that's the first appearance of the Defenders. But the first time they were called the Defenders was Marvel double feature number 1, and it was Hulk, Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, and the Submariner. And it was Marvel's biggest guns all on one team, fighting like Cthulhu-type gods. It's a really bizarre comic. What is this comic? Maybe that's what he was thinking, but it's still a bit of an assumption. Yeah. Mary Lynn. Mary Lynn was fun. Talk about she could argue. Just you said anything to next thing you know you were arguing. You know what I mean? She was one of those kind of girls. I was like, maybe he didn't want to go on a date with you because you just argue with everybody. I want to go on a date and argue with a girl. You're lucky you're pretty, Mary Lynn. And she was the first. This is a complete tangent, but she was Basque from Basque country in Spain, and she spoke Basque. She spoke English, but she spoke Basque. And every once in a while, she would just talk Basque, just to herself. And it just sounded like a made up language. I was like, that sounds like you made like a made up fantasy language, like of witchcraft. And she's like, maybe I'm a witch. You know, she was funny. I remember as a kid looking at the covers of the Defenders comic, then opening up and being completely disappointed by the I love Don Perlin. Oh, I will brook no Don Perlin slandery around here. Don Perlin, he drew some of my favorite Ghost Rider comics that were, I'm not joking, they gave me nightmares. They were so creepy. Let's see if I can make this bigger. But look at that. Iron Man, Hawkeye, Hulk. You know, just so cool. I don't know what it is. It's just, you know, but that's the way comic books were supposed to look. Just that old school look. And I know, you know, I do like Todd McFarlane's artwork. I think out of all of the Image guys, he's probably my favorite. But I just don't like the Rob Liefeld. I'm just so sad that the Rob Liefeld like dominated art style for like 10, 15 years in comics. I just hated it. My grandmother spoke Basque. Her family was from Spain. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I wonder if you're related to Maryland, because this was in New Mexico, Albuquerque.
This cover makes me think that if someone wants to learn how to do comic book art, Sal Buscema would be a good person to imitate, just because, again, we talked about this earlier, his faces are mean and angry, and that's the last thing you're going to get out of a comic today. So you want to go against the grain, because you get Hawkeye, they're all a bunch of dopes, and they look ridiculous and, I don't know, millennial. Right? Yeah. I mean, look at that. They're all powerful looking. You know, Iron Man. You know that punch from Iron Man is just gonna hurt. You know, even though it's his left hand. You know, is Iron Man right-handed or not? Well, he's grabbing with. You know, he should be grabbing with his left hand and ready to clobber with his right, but it's the way it's posed. Submariner. Look at his fists are about as big as his head. You know, Hulk is mutated, so whatever Hulk is Hulk is. But look at Hawkeye. He's a normal human. Look how big his hands are compared to his head. You're the one who made me realize that they use different proportions for heroic figures in comics. You know, like they use like an extra head or something like that. Like I forget, but it's supposed to be 7 heads tall, but they use 8 heads or something like that for. Yeah, it's originally done for the Tarzan comics.
Okay,
that was when they reproportioned from illustrations to comic book proportions. It was originally in Tarzan, and after that, it was almost everything in comics until you got to Vertigo.
Tony Grigo says, "Does anybody remember the Rob Liefeld?" Yeah, that was bizarre. That Rob Liefeld did a jeans commercial. I remember that. Damn, when you said Sal did Pretty Women and was going to say, look at Defenders issue 91, but that was drawn by Rich Buckler. Yeah, Rich Buckler is tricky. Rich Buckler. Okay. Rich Buckler was a good chameleon. That's one of the things that he was hired for, is he could ape other people's styles. So, like, not to sound mean, but Rich Buckler's own style was kind of like generic superheroes. You know, it was kind of like, I don't know, like if just superhero, boom. What you're thinking in your head right now is what Rich Buckler looked like. But he could copy Kirby. He copied early George Perez. He couldn't copy later George Perez, and he copied John and Sal Buscema. And depending upon who inked him, it was sometimes indistinguishable. But that's and he was quick. So he was the guy. He was like the king of fill-ins over at Marvel. Yeah, I really like Rich Buckler. He's another one who doesn't get the attention and credit that he deserves. Whenever I click on it and it's from eBay, it doesn't look right when I try to bring it onto the channel. But I just saw a good Sal Buscema comic. Or here's a really good Sal Buscema Spider-Man. I mean, this is for all of the Image guys. I mean, I would compare that to Todd McFarlane. You know, definitely better than Eric Larson. Eric Larson, to me, was at his best in maybe his first 35, 40 issues of Savage Dragon. And I don't know. He's a sketchy mess now. But when he did Spider-Man, I didn't really like Eric Larson's Spider-Man. But look at this. I mean, I could tell it's Sal Buscema, but man, this is up there with Todd McFarlane, if you ask me. Sorry, guys, I got to get up early for work. Have a blessed day. You too. You too. Have a good night. Anybody have any requests to see any Sal Buscema artwork? Any covers? Any issues? I'm trying to find more of his women. I do have some Sal Buscema artwork that I absolutely hated, but that's kind of disrespectful to bring up now. But some of his stuff on his early Captain Marvel. Oh God, even as a kid, I hated it. Yeah, I remember thinking this art is terrible. But look at that, Eric Larson.
Beautiful women. I would say probably go to Eternals, second volume of Eternals that he did in the 80s.
He did that, right?
Because you got plenty of women there. You got Ceres, who he also did in the Avengers. And a bunch of others as well.
Yeah, look, here's some Avengers work of his.
That's early stuff. I think he started, what does it say? Like 68? 68 he started Marvel.
Yeah, because he was one of the first artists on Marvel, Captain Marvel. And I know that debuted in 1968. So he might even been the original artist on that. I'm not 100% sure. So what did you say? Eternals? Okay, let me saw some Eternals.
And just to say this to fill the time for a second, I hated Eric Larson's stuff when he did X-Men. It was like a slap in the face when he did an X-Men issue, if you ask me.
I forgot he even did the X-Men. Okay, here's something that popped up right away. For Eternals, I'll remove this and I will bring this up. Yeah, I forgot he did this Eternals. I'll make it bigger. Yeah, Athena looks great there. I wonder who the inker is for that. It's kind of mean to say that the inker made it good. But here, I'll bring up this for Sal Buscema face. But after we look at this, but yeah, I like this series a lot. For some reason in my mind, I thought this was Walt Simonson. Did he draw?
I don't know. He did. I know that Sal did the pencils for this, but I don't know who did the inking.
Seriously, he still drew like Kirby. Yeah, he made seriously. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. It bothers. Who played? Oh yeah, I was gonna say Angelina Jolie, but she played Athena. I don't know. The Eternals movie was so boring. It's so boring, and it missed the point of the Eternals. I got that series, but I didn't remember he was on it. Yeah, I don't know why my memory was this was Walt Simonson, but
Walt Simonson. If you're looking at the title box, that's the Eternal. That's Walter Simonson doing the title box.
Okay,
where that came from, I don't remember if it was just the covers for the first couple or not.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe he did.
Or it could have been from the first miniseries, because this is the second miniseries.
And of course we all know that Kirby did it. But look at that. Look at that face. She's supposed to be like 19 years old there. She looks like
I'm looking at the Spider-Man, and his eyes just don't look proportionally right on the face. They're slanted to the wrong direction.
Yeah, the lazy eye Spider-Man. Yeah, this is Mighty Mike Esposito doing the inking. So Vision looks okay.
Yeah, Vision looks good.
But this to me, like I have this comic, and I'm looking at this. This is like, to me, I wouldn't have been able to tell who the artist was as a kid. This is just Marvel artwork, you know. But right there, our pal Sal Buscema and Mighty Mike Esposito. So they said that both get credited for the art. I bet you Sal probably did really, really rough outlines, or and then Mike Esposito, like who messed up those? Now I can't stop looking at those eyes. Oh God, Spider-Man, you're hypnotizing me. A lot of comments.
Well, we got to remember, throw away your eraser. So
There
he did
you
it
go.
once.
That's speed counts. Speed counts. Hey, inkers are great. They need to bring inkers back. Yeah, yeah. If anybody's interested, Bill Williams does inking, so he's my letterer. He keeps asking if anybody needs inking. He loves to ink other people's work, and you got Mike Gustovich who loves to do inking. So
Yep.
there's two active inkers. Uh, yeah, I just had an idea. So behind. Nobody needs to know how the sausage is made, but I just had an idea. I got that series, but I didn't remember who's on. You talk about the Eternals, right? RJ John, what do you think is the best way to introduce your characters to the reader?
Through action. For me, it's always starts action. That's it. You start splash page like this is Marvel method. You start splash page number 1 action. Usually for Marvel, they would do that as a preview for the book and then bring it back down. Most of the time, I don't like that method. I like action and then just keep on action for like 3-4 pages, if you ask me.
I think the best way, I assume we're talking about a superhero comic there, is have them sitting in a coffee shop, out of costume, in a coffee shop, preferably discussing their feelings with
dopey looks in their faces.
Yeah, just probably talking about politics. You know what I mean? About how we need more mass immigration or something. That's the best way to introduce a superhero. Okay. And make sure that when you have your superhero, I cannot stress this enough, that they are mouthpieces for your politics. People love that. No, I agree with RJ 100%. Action. Just have them. If you got a lightning guy, first page, he's shooting a lightning bolt. Tell the origin in flashback or something like that, because if the origin's necessary. But and I'm breaking all my own rules because Mary Sue doesn't even have
again, John. I got to say, yes, the Spider-Man. I was going to say the Spider-Man eyes on this is there's something wrong with it, but this page, even though we can look at it and say there's a couple of things wrong with this page, this is 100% better than anything you get today.
Okay, yeah. I'm just laughing at those Spider-Man eyes. Yeah, I was actually scrolling for more. Oh, here's a good Hulk. Here's a good Hulk one. I'll bring this up. Yeah, I really like. I think he's my favorite Hulk artist. But yeah, I agree with RJ. Have your character doing some action, and then maybe in flashback talk about his origin or whatever,
Oh, this is iconic. I can remember this page specifically because this was one of the books I had from very early on as a kid with no cover on it. This page was always staring at us when we opened up a certain drawer.
Yeah. Did it say Sal Buscema? Joe Staton. Cool. Joe Staton, great artist on his own right. I really like the early E-Man from Charlton Comics. They talk about they were cartoony and fun, and the women were beautiful, and talk about a powerful superhero. E-Man is probably one of the most powerful superheroes ever to exist. If you read all the stuff he could do, and then Joe Staton, as he got more realistic, I thought the charm of his art kind of dissolved. Yeah. So Ryan Banks will be on my channel next Tuesday, I think it is, midnight. We're going to have a conversation. We'll talk about his Solo Legion comics. So RJ and John, I have a policy that the cover art will always be a splash page from the book, so that the cover art matches the arts. See, I like that. I like that. You seem to be doing comics. Not that the way I do comics is the right way, but the way I do comics is the way I like to do comics. Oh, it's funny, but you can feel the emotion coming from Scarlet Witch. Yes. Like RJ was saying, that she still emoted, even though Scarlet Witch might as well not been there, because all I'm looking at was Spider-Man's wonky eyes. Thanks, RJ. You ruined that image for me. I would have noticed sooner or later. And
although I do agree with you, John, just as a sidebar, in the fact that the only reason I ever read E-Man was the fact that he could draw beautiful women.
Yeah. It's funny because why can't I remember the girl's name who later became E-Woman, E-Girl, which means something else today. But she was a stripper, but they called her a sensual dancer or something like that. And I always find it funny, every once in a while, I was like, why did you have to make this girl a stripper? Like the John Byrne Omac wasn't the girl. Oh no, it wasn't the John Byrne Omac. It was the third reincarnation of Omac. Omac's girlfriend was a stripper, and I'm like, why? I guess, if you pick randomly, maybe you get a stripper girl, but I guess it's just to have like sexiness in your comic book, whatever. But yes, she was and she would have to go and E-Man was like so naive that he didn't know what she was going to do, and why was it a big deal. Don't forget, each frame is the same with different text. Okay. I didn't know what you took modern comics. Yeah, I'm seeing this a lot, RJ. That they in a lot of Marvel and DC comics now, they'll have like Spider-Man talking to Mary Jane, and it's the same panel 6 times with different word balloons.
Yep. Oh, I got a whole folder of those in my bad art series that I did, I don't know, like 3-4 years ago.
False advertising hurts sales when the cover art doesn't match interior story. Go to Kickstarter and look at just about any comic book, and you'll see decent covers, and then you flip through the inside, and I'm like, you lost me. So the point where that's for my campaigns, I can't, like, I'm showing like 5-6 pages colored artwork just because I want people to know I'm not hoodwinking you. Renzo is doing the cover, and Renzo's doing the interiors. With my comic books, you can't argue with the lettering. Bill Williams' lettering is so freaking good. RJ, I recommend him for anybody. He's the best letterer, I think.
These guys looking for inking jobs too? Yes,
if I'll give you his contact information if he wants to ink also. He inks his own comics. And he every once in a while he's like, anybody who needs an inker?
Yeah, but, send his stuff my way.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, the coloring in my comics are awesome, and the art is the only thing you criticize is me. I got no problems. Every once in a while somebody will say something about the art. I'm like, that you're being disingenuous. The art in my comics is awesome, but the writing, I got room to grow. I have a lot of room to grow. Agree with RJ on past artists are better than today's artists. And John, just think that for Spider-Man's eyes that he is squinting. Yeah, but it's a mask. He could be squinting. That always drove me nuts when in Spider-Man, like he would be making like an incredulous face and one eyeball is bigger than the other. It's a mask. It's not supposed, but it still works because it's comic books and it's not supposed to be 100% real. And then a lunatic like me goes, "Oh, I guess the unstable molecules are reacting to his emotions." Because I gotta make everything work in continuity. Well, it was great marketing. They put a comic with the toy. Oh, we're talking about Rom. Okay. And the He-Man comic was actually pretty good. I never read the He-Man. I just didn't like He-Man. I know I'm going to catch hell for saying this, but isn't the legend that the He-Man toys were actually Conan action figures when they made them?
The original story was a Conan story. Basically, and they switched the Conan to He-Man, and Thulsa Doom became Skeletor.
Okay, that makes sense. I just thought the name. If you're new to me because you're a fan of RJ, thank you for putting up with me. But if you've been following my channel for any decent, you know that for me, for superheroes. The superhero name is the end-all, be-all. Everything is derived from the superhero name. Whether you work backwards to the name or you start with the name and work down, He-Man's just a bad name. So I can't get – there's some characters I just can't get past the name.
Off the top of my head, okay, I'm just thinking out loud here. Another good toy line that was put into a comic was Crystar.
Yeah, that comic was actually pretty good.
Who did the art for that? I can't remember because that's one they had painted covers for the series, but then I can't remember who did the internal art for that. But it was a good series. Yeah,
Crystar was another toy that another comic book based on a toy that was much better than it. I hate to say deserved to be, but expected to be, because these guys they took it seriously. Here's another great look at that. You asked about the Defenders. And this one, that Valkyrie, that's Sal Buscema face. She's attractive, but they all seem to have like this mean scowl.
She's shooting daggers at the guy.
Right.
Looks could kill.
Yeah. Yeah. Spider-Man eyes are doing the pause. Oh God, that pissed me off. 9 panels of the same art, just different. Yeah, it's infuriating and it's insulting. And to me, I blame the editor. The editor shouldn't let it. I could see the artist just like, oh, the very first time I've ever seen that, what was it, Identity Crisis, where they like went into therapy, and I was like, okay, that's just a whole page of the same panel over and over and over again. I just noticed. Look at the bra that Valkyrie has on. Do not lean up.
Very 1950s.
Yeah. Before you log off, I want to ask you a question about the end of page 6. Okay, send me a message on Twitter. Send me a message. Arcane was the same way. How is this video game series this good? Season 1 only. Oh yeah, I'm afraid to play video games. I know that I'll get addicted. But I love the series. The Red Ghost. Look at Hawkeye there. Valkyrie is just, yeah, like you said. If she had eye beams, Red Ghost would be toast right now.
I just love the fact that they made, this was not just for the villains either, but he made almost completely bald except for the back of the head supervillain with giant, arms and everything else. But they give him a bald head because, just because.
I'm trying to find some more good Sal Buscema. Oh, here's a great Spider-Man. Here's a great Spider-Man. Like I said, everybody talks about Todd McFarlane, and rightfully so. Todd McFarlane really did do a great job on Spider-Man. But like, look at that. That's is it a case of like Todd McFarlane was getting all the attention, so like Sal Buscema upped his game, or did you know what I mean? Or is it just like parallel evolution? I don't know, but look at that. That is just awesome. Because to me, that's like old school and new. This is like the bridge between 80s comics and 90s comics. That is just beautiful, beautiful work. Yeah, I could look at that all day.
There was a really good cover that he did, I think, which is, I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. I'm looking for it right now, but is the one where the two uniforms are fighting over Peter Parker. Was that Sal that did that?
I don't know. What like the uniforms got anthropomorphic or something?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what cover it is. I'm just scrolling down. I just Googled Sal Buscema comics and just scrolling down until I find covers that I like. Oh, here's
he did really good run on Fantastic Four after he was done of Thor.
Yes, he did. That was around Fantastic Four 300, if I remember.
Which again, he kept on following Walter Simonson around.
Lord of Brooklyn. How you doing, Lord of Brooklyn? Good to see you. Now, this was my Spider-Man run. Because shortly around this time, maybe within 6 or 7 months or so, my buddy Mike explained to me what the numbers were on the comics. Like, it says 30 cents, one. But like if you looked at comics, you can't really see that. But underneath, it says 1 December, and then there's like a number on that. I never paid attention because, 2/16 December 40044. Like I didn't know what these numbers were, so I didn't. But he explained to me that they're in number order. That's the number. So this is the first Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. It didn't exist before this. So when he explained that to me, Spider-Man was in the 180s. Amazing Spider-Man was in the 180s. And to me, that just meant I missed so much and I felt left out. And I kind of got discouraged, although I still collected Amazing Spider-Man. But then Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, came out number one. And I was like, oh, I could get in this on the ground floor. And this became my Spider-Man. So I got this. I got like a full set of the original Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. And I know this was like the the B series of Spider-Man. Amazing was the A series, but this had so much good stuff. It gave us Frank Miller. Frank Miller's first Marvel work was in Spectacular Spider-Man. But look at
Tarantula. I remember my brother had this book. Again, it was one of the ones I was always. It was at that time when we had a certain amount of comics, and we just read them over and over and over again. But Tarantula is one of those ridiculous Spider-Man. We always thought about it as kids, anyways. Ridiculous Spider-Man villain.
Yeah, how is he? For those of you who don't know, he's like he's like Mexican or something, and he talks like if there's 10 sentences if there's 10 words in the sentence, 9 of them are English, and then one of them is in Spanish to remind us that he speaks Spanish. So it's like, I'm going to the store, caramba, or something. You know what I mean? It's just stupid, like old. Remember, but his power was he wore these steel pointy shoes, and he would like dance and stab you. But as I got older, he's based on the tarantella. There was a dance that mimicked spider movements, the tarantella, and you can see it like old movies stuff. So I like him now more because, again, everything falls from the name. So his name is the Tarantula, and there's a dance called the Tarantella, and it has a lot of kicking and stuff like that. And then you mix it with like some savate. So I don't know. I like him now, but realistically, Spider-Man should be able to cream this guy. He's just a normal guy that with some fancy dance moves. That's like Spider-Man fights your ballroom dance instructor, Oh, but he's a deadly ballroom dance instructor. But that's like Captain America fighting Batroc the Leaper, But I like I said, I like it more now as an adult than I did as a kid. Let me try to find some more cool Sal Buscema. Like I said, I'm just nope. That's John Buscema. Here is. I didn't realize this was Sal Buscema. Oh my God, this is one of my favorite comic books growing up, and I'll tell you why if I can ever get it to come to the screen. Okay, there we go. Can everybody see this? I know it's small. Captain America and the Falcon, 168. This is before Falcon even had wings. That's because I think Falcon's debut was 67, 66. So he didn't even have wings yet. He's just swinging around like an acrobat. But this comic, Power Records made you could buy. It was a comic book with an actual vinyl record in it, and you played the record, and it would have sound effects and music, and it would just read the comic to you with actors. And I had the Swamp Thing, I had the Fantastic Four, and I had this. And I just remember just over and over and over again, because I just play the record and read this. So the Power Records version of this was my first Captain America comic.
I was just thinking, John, now that you mentioned it, I wonder if Mike Gustovich actually knew Sal in any way, because Mike did the inking for the first couple of issues, at least for the New Mutants, and Sal did, I gotta say, like issue 5 through 20 or something like that before Sienkiewicz took over.
Okay,
but he did the pencils for it. So I can't remember if Mike did inking for Sal or not.
I don't know offhand. The first I started noticing Mike Gustovich with Justice Machine, so I don't know what he did before Justice Machine.
But there's another good run of Sal Buscema. It'd be early New Mutants after like 4 or 5 or something like that.
Spider-Man states that he pulls his punches since he does not want to kill. Still waiting for the excuse of why Darkseid doesn't kill Batman with the flick of his finger. Yeah, because Darkseid knows if Batman dies, then there's no DC Comics, and then Darkseid dies. He's meta aware. He knows. Oh, first Falcon was 117. Okay, so I didn't realize that Falcon's been around for that long. Thank you. Oh, I got a super chat. Sal, rest in peace, Sal, you legend. I love your Silver Surfer. Yep, yeah. Silver Surfer was John Buscema. I didn't want to hurt our But John Buscema, it's a sad story. I was just telling my wife yesterday about this, but John Buscema, he I think this was before Savage Sword of Conan. So John Buscema was never started a series. He always came in later on. So this is the first time that he was from number one. It was his book. And it was a double-sized book, and then Stan Lee loved the Silver Surfer. So he was like, I'm going to make my name on this. So this is John Buscema. So he really went all out, and he hand-delivered the artwork to, I think it was number 4, where Silver Surfer fights Thor. And guys, that is just a tour de force of artwork. And he gives it to Stan, and Stan looks at it and goes, this doesn't look like Kirby. And John Buscema just said, like, he didn't expect a raise. He didn't expect this is like what's his name from Ralphie from A Christmas Story. How he's fantasizing about the teacher. This is the greatest ever. He didn't expect any. He expected, wow, this is good. Just like an attaboy. And what he got was, this doesn't look like her. And he said he just went, and that was like a switch went off, and he was just like, okay, he became like a jobber. You know what I mean? It's just, so if any of you have employees, give him an attaboy. They don't ask for much. That's all he wanted was an attaboy.
Sal actually, I think, did the inking for those Silver Surfer.
Oh, he did. Okay. I'm trying to look for some more Sal Buscema. Just keep scrolling down. Oh, here's something cool. I keep showing the Spectacular Spider-Man, but Tony probably knows it. Did Sal is his longest run on Spectacular Spider-Man? Why can't this be bigger? I can't make it bigger, but is Punisher and Spider-Man. And wow, Spider-Man's not even on the cover. So it's a Spider-Man comic book that doesn't even have Spider-Man on it. Spider-Man pulling his punches should still crush people's heads. One of my many problems with Spider-Man 2 is when Spidey lands that first punch on Doc Ock. Yeah, Doc Ock is just a guy who's never been physical in his whole life wearing prosthetic arms. Yeah, he should. And in the comic, he always had the arms deflecting Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man very rarely gets a good punch on Dr. Octopus. I think Stan and Steve Ditko understood that a guy who lifts a car should be able to just crush a guy who doesn't have superpowers. Oh, we lost RJ. I know RJ is in the woods with bad weather, so I hope he comes back. The Buscema brothers are the greatest siblings in the history of the beat. I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. The only other siblings I can think of off the top of my head are the Hernandez brothers, Jamie and Gilbert. But there's got to be other brothers. Well, there was John Severin and Marie Severin, so there was siblings, John and Marie. Anybody know any other siblings in comics? But I don't think anybody will ever find a better sibling brothers than Sal and John. Why can't I? My computer just does not want to cooperate with me. Images. I don't want just Eternals. I want all of them. I want all of Sal Buscema's art. Okay, there we go. Sal Buscema art. Trying to find some other stuff that I haven't shown yet. Here's a good one. Here's a really good one. We were talking about the Defenders. I hope here comes RJ. Hey, RJ.
Sorry about that. I think my modem schedules updates in the middle of the night, and that's why I get cut off sometimes.
Oh, okay. So we were talking before we went on. Are you snowed in?
There was a lot of snow about 2 days ago, and it was really light and fluffy stuff, but it's starting to pile up, and there's going to be a wicked storm hit you, me, everybody on the East Coast come, I'm going to say Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, it's supposed to be another storm. Yeah. Oh, the Kubert brothers. Duh. How can I forget the Kubert brothers? When you were gone, this comment came up. Uh, the Buscema brothers, the greatest siblings in the history of the medium. And then I was trying to think of other siblings, and I thought of the Hernandez brothers, John and Marie Severin, and then I couldn't think of any more. How could I forget the Kubert brothers? That just, yeah, I'm getting schooled over here. And Romita and his dad and son, yeah, that I thought of that right away, but that had siblings. But yeah, John Romita Sr. and his son Junior, Jr. Jr. Trying to think of that. Is there any more family?
Talking about pairings, I would say Walter and Wheezy has to go in there, but they're not
they became related through marriage. Yes, you're absolutely right. That I guess that counts too. They're related. Yep. What was her name was originally Louise Jones, right? And then she became Wheezy Simonson. Two brother and a dad. Yep. The Kuberts. Yep. Look at this cover. I know. Sal Buscema is definitely my favorite Hulk artist. Like I said, with the follow up by Ditko.
That's funny because we're talking about Rom earlier, and I found I think that Buscema gave Rom its grounded quality and really made the comic actually something people wanted to read. But then you got Ditko coming in and giving it a surreal couple of issues near the end.
Yeah, and that was where that period of Ditko I just hated. Like it's funny to think that how much I love Ditko now. At one point, it was like, I'm gonna buy this comic, but I'm not gonna like it. I'm trying to find other. It just keeps showing Defenders and Spectacular Spider-Man.
Go to, let's see if I can pull it up. If there's good stuff for Fantastic Four is around. Let's see.
Oh, here's a good one. He is a really good one. But yeah, if you have any, I'll share your screen too if you want. Yeah, or shout out a title and I'll find it, a cover. But this I loved. Look at that. Look at the color on that. Great coloring could really, really make or break a comic. Have you ever seen? I tried out a bunch of colorists before. I originally started work with Daniel De La Silva and then Oscar, but I had a couple of guys that tried out. Their coloring just ruined the artwork. Now, I'm not going to mention names. I'm not here to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah, I agree. I did the same thing because I was looking for flats originally when I did my first book, which is Thomas Valiant #1, and there was some people, their version of flats was just not just standard colors, as in 5 or 6 colors use only, but they were so drab. It just completely destroyed it.
I don't know, Arkham. I don't know. The weather. I don't know why the chat's delayed. All I know is RJ got kicked off before. But I love these colors. And look at the backgrounds. That's what I was talking about. They didn't need to go super detailed. The background is just lines and color. And I bet you nobody would have noticed if I didn't bring that up. You see the Avengers over there in the corner. And then Captain Marvel being electrocuted, electric chair. Such a pun intended. That's a shocking cover. Isn't it funny? A non-main comic like Rom the Space Knight makes it 75 issues, yet main comics today are lucky to get to issue 12. Don't get me started on the reboots. The reboots absolutely drive me crazy. I'm a continuity freak. My wife was laughing at me the other day because we were talking about toys from our childhood. And I said I bought Star Wars toys. Absolutely loved playing Star Wars action figures. And I got all the original 12, but I never played with Ben Kenobi. I got him. I got that little stand that you sent away for. But I never played with him because he died in the movie. So how can I play with him? He's dead. You know what I mean? Like, so that's sort of continuity freak I am. Oh, RJ wants to share something.
These are
Oh,
Buscema issues right here.
oh
Fantastic
yeah.
Four, earliest stuff.
Oh yeah. I like that. I think this is Roy Thomas writing. Yeah, look at that. The Brute. Yeah, the Brute is a. Wasn't the Brute Reed Richards from Another Dimension?
Now that you mention it, I think so.
Yeah, because now he's the Maker, but originally the, there was like an evil version of the Fantastic Four from Another Dimension, and Reed Richards was the Brute because that's the opposite. Instead of being super smart and calculating, he was emotional and strong. But look at that. Look at that Sue Storm. That's what I'm talking about. That Sal Buscema, like he drew handsome women. Right? I mean, I'm sure people are going to find a particularly beautiful, sexy Sal Buscema woman, but that ain't it. Yeah, but this comment's absolutely right. You know why? Because they had Bill Mantlo, who was amazing. They had Sal Buscema, who was amazing, and then when he left, you know, and they gave the team time to come up with personalities and motivations and everything for all these characters, you know, and comic books were, yeah, this was the early John Byrne run.
207, 208 were Sal Buscema from.
He did the covers.
Yeah, yeah, he did. He must, yeah, but it was internal stuff. Yeah, because yeah, you're right. John Byrne definitely.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite comics right there. That's that giant Sphinx one. But RRT, not to be contrary, but a truly comic book works without color. In the UK, we got Kirby's Eternals in black and white. Yeah, we were talking earlier about how sometimes seeing the colored work was almost a shame. You saw the line art. Like I never really saw Jack Kirby's pencils until like 20 years ago. You know, I'm 50, so I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s before I started seeing what Jack Kirby stuff looked like, you know, in the raw. And I'm like, oh my God, it just shows like so much more talent than you'd give him credit for. It's funny. I typed in, I closed my window that said Sal Buscema, and when I typed in Sal, it auto-filled punch. So now I'm looking at Sal Buscema punches. I'll find a good one to bring up. Like this is a good Sal Buscema punch. Let me close this down. But there's hundreds of variations of this. The guy just getting knocked head over heels. There's Electro getting tossed. There's Spider-Man hitting Electro. Look at that. Arg! Hulk fought and Hulk won. Pow. How hard do you have to get hit to literally, like, you get hit in the face and you're propelled by your head across the room. And, you know, that would just kill the average person. A lot of my earliest American comics were French version done by Heritage Comics. Those are all black and white. So Faz, you're not in America? You're not American? Where are you? I'm really, Oscar, who does my colors, he sent me a box of Mexican comics. I'm like fascinated with Mexican comics right now. Just how cool they were, you know. Here's another good Sal Buscema punch. I'll take this off and I'll add this punch. Like, okay, come on. Same thing. Just where did he hit him? You know, where did the fist connect? In the small of his back? You know. That's just funny. And that's comic books. You know, it's not realistic. You know, realistic. Have you ever seen a real fight? It's a lot of grappling and falling on the ground. You know, real fights aren't punch to punch to punch. Oh, you're French Canadian. So where are you? Montreal. Yeah, is that where you are? You're in Montreal, which I love. Montreal, I think, was my favorite Canadian city that I visited. I've been to Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. Yeah. Let me see. Any more? There's got to be more. Anything you want?
Yeah, I'm pulling one up right now. Just
Okay.
give me 2 seconds, John.
While we're
Again,
talking,
I was talking about the New Mutants and the Buscema monsters.
okay, yeah, I did bring up Eddie Mutants. Good call. Let me just address this. While we're talking about late great creators, Mark Rudenwald. If you love continuity, you have to love Rudenwald. He was so underrated. His name should be Mark Rudenwald. His job was to be the continuity of Marvel Comics, and he was being groomed to be the next editor in chief when he died. Just somewhere in an alternate reality, there's Marvel Comics with Mark Rudenwald became the editor in chief. Oh, what a great Marvel Comics that would have been. Oh, you're in Quebec City. A lot of snow. Real fights tend to last only 30 seconds or so. Yeah, everybody gets tired. Have you been into a fight? It is exhausting. It is exhausting. Oh, wow. Wow, I haven't looked at these in a long time. I forgot that this was Sal Buscema. Oh, wow, look at that. Oh, find those Magic comics that you were talking about. I remember those so vividly. Those were great. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, you're a big fan of this run, huh?
Yeah, this is one of the first books, along with we'll say the New Flash when it came out. But this was my Marvel version of starting from number 1 and reading all the way through, and I stuck it out with New Mutants all the way. And the only thing that I would say paid off through so many bad comics was the fact that I now have multiple copies of the first appearance of Deadpool, which is probably like $700 each.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I only have one copy. What's that? X-Men 98?
No, it's New Mutants.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Mutants 98 or something? Or 89 or something like that? Oh, I just ate. I thought I closed off my screen. I got a big bowl of chili over here. I'm going to look for Sal Buscema Magic. That was I forgot that was an important comic when I was a kid. So because I had a friend that really enjoyed ruining comics for me. So any comic that he got, and he's like, "Oh, you didn't get that?" Then he would just explain it to me in excruciating detail and ruin the comics for me. But we were fascinated. That was like one of the first times I got the idea of a what you would call it, time dilation. Remember, like they're trying to save what's it, Alanya, and then she gets pulled into the dimension, and then they reach in and pull her out, and she's grown up. I was like, wow, that's such a good concept. Why? Oh, I'm spelling his name wrong again.
There's some original art from Magic, which was black and white for the cover. You can share the screen there.
Oh yeah, look at that, Pelasco. I'm gonna make that bigger. Yeah, look at that.
That was one of my favorite versions of Shadowcat as well, from the alternate version in Limbo Shadowcat.
Yeah,
when she was older. She
was older and sinister. Oh, that's right. Nightcrawler was like a demon. Oh wow! Look at the title. You can see that it's like cut and pasted, like literally, like cut magic out of something and put it on top of the art. Old fashioned Photoshop, I guess, just physical cut pieces. And I got to say, like without the color, it's more suggestive. Like scroll up. Just Alanya is like that's see through. She's naked, but when you put the color in it, it covers up the suggestiveness. Like Shadowcat, she's like basically just got like a strip of clothes on. Like I don't know, am I a pervert for thinking this? Like, but like the colors, if I remember correctly, they colored her like blue. So
Yep.
yeah, but like right now, it's pretty suggestive. Yeah, is that Storm? Like he's fighting Storm, and that's Alanya next to Belasco. Like that's
Yes.
yeah, that's right, that's right.
Because all the X-Men got sucked into the portal, and they're
Right.
all stuck in the ones that didn't get killed. Because I think both Wolverine and Colossus were immediately killed by demons, and then the rest of them got stuck there and all became old.
Yeah, yes. RRTNZ says, I don't like Rob Lightfield's artwork or storytelling much, but he's a decent guy who's passionate about comics and an ambassador for the medium. This is exactly how I feel. I don't like his art. I don't like his characters. I think his writing is the worst, but he is likable. And I think up until about 10 years ago, I thought he was a net negative for comics. I don't know. I think he's a wash now. If he keeps with this popularity and passionate, maybe he'll become a net positive. I just lost subscribers for bashing Rob Liefeld, but I do like him personally. Yeah, the 4-issue miniseries of Magic where it shows her growing up with a few seconds. Yeah, lost her limb. Yeah, that was I was like, oh my god, like that was like mind breaking to me. You mean in other dimensions time could be different? Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, that's Storm. That's right. See, that is really cool. And I like the little color guides and what are those like targets? I guess that's to show where the cover should get cut or something. Those little those crosses in the corners.
It's a trim line, yeah.
Yeah, trim line. I couldn't think of the word. It's funny. Are you familiar? You're familiar with Pete Sabetti, right? He's been on, like, you interviewed him, didn't you?
I don't know if he's been on my channel, but yeah, I've talked to him, I think, a couple of times.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Pete Sabetti does alternate comics, and he put out a thread the other day about if you're going to get into comics, you got to know all this stuff and blah blah blah. And I didn't comment because I don't want to fight with Pete because I like Pete, but I didn't know anything when I started making comics. Like, if you wait till you know everything, you're never going to get started. And the only reason I did learn a lot about comics is because I didn't know what a trim line is. I remember talking to the printers and the layout guy. They were talking about you got to have the art come up to this. Where do you want the bleed? And I must have looked like the biggest jerk in the world because I didn't know what they were talking about. I mean, by the second issue, I knew exactly what they were talking about. It cut my printing times by weeks because I knew what I was talking about. But, I'm sending files to the printer, and they're just like, what's wrong with you? So, but anyway, you just reminded me of that because when you said trim lines, like that was a big deal because I didn't know what the hell they meant. I didn't
Exact same thing with me for the first issue cover. It's like I didn't get the trim lines put on the original art, and when the cover went through the printer, you can see there's some bleeds around the corner where they just fit it in as best as they could, but there's some areas where it's actually white, little in just coming in a little bit here and there.
Yeah, for my first comic, I've picked up 4 mistakes. So I'm wondering if I do a second printing, do I fix the mistakes or do I leave the mistakes in? What do you guys think in the chat? Leave the mistakes in. What 2 typos and then a couple other like just graphic mistakes that nobody besides me probably know. Well, and then I spelled my friend's name, so 6 mistakes wrong. 6 mistakes. I'm trying to find some more. Sal Buscema. Do you have the cover? Magic 4, right? So that's the cover that I always remembered the most.
Issue 4.
Yeah, if that's the one that I'm thinking of. Uh, yes, this is the cover that I this one has always been in my head. Every time anybody mentions Magic, this is the cover that I think of. Oh, I can only share one at a time. Okay. There we go. That cover. Right? That's Al Buscema, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That cover is so creepy to me. I don't know what it is. The tail is flesh colored. Her creepy face. Yeah, it is such a creepy cover. You know,
And again, you got the little creature in the background. Is Sabi Sim, little creatures from Limbo.
yeah, yeah, little fat little demon things, and then like, yeah, it really. I remember, and then the orange sky with the brick. That is just such a the tattered clothes. What year is this?
Uh,
I'm trying to see if I
see.
can. 83, 84?
83. Yep.
Yeah, for those of you who are not as old as the Hills as I am, RJ, you got to remember when The Exorcist came out, there was like a good 5-year period where Satanism and possession and demons was the hot topic. Every movie, and then the Satanic Panic with D&D and all that stuff. So this was kind of like, I don't know, risky for Marvel to make this on the cover of one of their comics. Little Satan girl. You know, I bet you, I bet you somewhere in America there's an article about how Marvel Comics demonic with this. You know, not knowing the whole story, but at the same time, I always thought Marvel was kind of hedging their bets because, like, she went to Limbo, but it was demonic. Like, do you think the original script she went to hell, and they just changed it to Limbo? Because this Limbo might as well be hell.
Well, it is a hell dimension in Marvel Comics. There's several hell dimensions in Marvel Comics. One of them being Mephisto's, the other one's being this one, which was, what's his name?
Belasco.
Control. But there was a couple of different ones.
I remember somewhere around issue 3, I realized he only had one arm, and that bothered me. I don't know why. He only has one arm. Like, he always had a cape on, so I never noticed that he was missing an arm. I don't know why it bothered me. Look at that background. Yeah, you don't see that anymore. You don't see this type of coloring. You don't see this type of artwork anymore. We got over 60 people watching right now. Is this new to anybody? Is this like weird looking old fashioned comic style to you? Like, what do you think? Like, let's just imagine the greatest universe in the world. I got Sal Buscema. He's still alive. He's still working. I can afford him, and he does a comic for me. And it's this type of art right now. I mean, would that be selling? You know, would people like, oh, look at this art, or would people like, look at this old fashioned art? I don't like Marvel Satan, period. It's not just Marvel. DC did it. Movies did it. Like, the movie of the week was Possession. Right at, you know, entertainment, for good or for bad, they copy each other. When Star Wars came out, there was a slew of science fiction movies. You know, most of them you never heard of. Right after Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan movie came out, there was the 80s. You want to look up some sword and sorcery movies. Man, the 80s was a golden age of sword and sorcery movies. And most of them were just excuses for low budget chicks in bikinis running around. You know what I mean? It was bring them down to Sicily, throw them in a bathing suit, sword fights. You got a movie. I'd watch it. Probably did. I probably did watch it. Oops, her top fell off. That was great cinema to me when I was 14 years old.
I can remember, John, the series of games we played, PC games, my brother and I, was the Ultima series. And it got to the 8th game, which was technically the 9th game because of the way they came out, because it was 7 part 1 and 7 part 2. But anyways, it was called Pagan. And on the cover was just a pentagram. The whole thing was red. My mother's like, You're not buying that. And I'm going, we have the other 7, 8 games. We have to buy it. And we had to fight. We had to fight to get that game into our house.
I remember that game. That game actually scared me because before that game in Ultima, if you wanted to get something out of your backpack, you clicked on the backpack, everything froze. You open up the backpack, you take the potion out. But in that game, you clicked on the backpack, the monster still moved.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God, that changes everything. Like you actually had to put stuff in order so you wouldn't rummaging through your backpack looking for it while oh my God, that was scary. Yeah. I think that was the last Ultimate game that I played.
No, it was the worst of them all, just to let you know. Well, actually, the one after that was pretty bad too. But I can remember my brother. We were playing the game, and at some point, you had to kill a child in the game because they were attacking you. And he goes, "What is this? The last 4 games, you had to build up your character by being virtuous, and in this one, you're killing children."
I guess I never finished it then. I don't remember. And I remember you had to mix potions, and it got like really dull. Like you had to there was like a rack of test tubes, and you had to mix them, and maybe there was some obvious solution, but I think I gave up at that point. Video games were really, really tough in the 90s. I think people today would just I saw on Twitter, somebody said, if it takes me more than 6 hours to beat one of your levels, I ain't playing your game. I'm like, 6 hours? Try a month.
Exactly. I remember people complaining about the first Fallout game, which was based on the engine from Ultima 7 Part 1. And that game was horribly, it was a beautiful game, but I mean, it was difficult. You had to find rope in order to climb down into these wells, and if you didn't have the right way of doing it, you had to start all over again. It was a beautiful game. I loved it. I played it hundreds of hours, but it was in some ways, I say horrible, because you really, really had to struggle to finish it.
Yeah. Greg Doherty says the big thing in the 70s was doomsday stuff. Everything was blowing up, falling down, these doomsday movies. I think the first one was the Poseidon Adventure, and I'll never forget. We were watching the Poseidon Adventure. I'm a little kid. My dad was putting it on, like, you watch whatever dad wanted to watch back then. We had one TV. Dad wanted to watch Poseidon Adventure. We were watching the Poseidon Adventure, and I'm watching, playing with my toys, and the ship flips over, and why can't I remember the woman's name? Shelley Winters. She just like, I can't climb anymore. And she just falls to her death. And I laughed. Oh my God, did I laugh? And I just pointed at the TV. My whole family laughed. And it became like one of those things. I'm like, that fat lady just fell into the water. I was a rotten kid. He went to screaming, and Ernest Borgnine's looking all sad. Oh my God. And all I could think of was the fat lady, all the way into the water. And then there was the Towering Inferno, and then you're right, there was a whole bunch of doomsday stuff. But that, at the risk of sounding political, every 2 minutes we were told about global cooling. Global cooling. Does anybody remember global cooling?
That mid 70s there, John.
Yeah, global cooling. I remember me and my friend were terrified of freezing to death. Like every snowstorm, we're like, is this global cooling? And then it became global warming in the 80s. Global warming. And now it's climate change. Anything is proof of climate change now. Oh, there's a storm next week. That's because of climate change. Oh, it's hot during the summer. That's because of climate change. All weather now proves this climate change. It's just enough.
Something weird that you just made me think of, John. I wonder if it was the early 1900s, which came all the way into the Thor for Marvel and things like that, with the revival of the Norse mythology, because you had Jack Kirby, and he was basically reading old Norse stuff, and that's why he was so good at his mythology, and he did a lot of really good Thor stuff. But one of the things about Norse mythology is the people were always wondering, is this winter ever going to end? Because they were never sure that winter was going to end.
Right.
Because you're living way north, right? I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if that contributed to this craze in the early to mid 70s of global cooling.
it's just trust the expert, RJ. Trust the experts, but they're always wrong. But don't question that. The food pyramid is now wrong.
I knew the food pyramid was wrong long and ever ago.
But the experts are always wrong. Whenever people say experts, I immediately get my hackles up. What are your thoughts on the new He-Man film, especially the part that shows he uses? Well, first off, I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke at the beginning. He, him. So I'm not going to get all up. Second off, I don't care. I never liked He-Man. I was saying earlier, I don't know if you were here, but everything falls from the name, and He-Man is just a stupid name. I don't like it. I know people are going to get mad at me. I was too old for He-Man. I was too old for Transformers. So I don't have a pony in this race. But I do think that he, him pronouns thing, I think it's supposed to show that he's disgusted by his life. They're emasculating him, and now he gets to live his real life in the fantasy world. What is that Japanese term?
Isekai.
Yeah, isekai. That's what I think it's going to be. So hold your ire. I'm probably wrong, but my gut tells me that this is a joke. This is a joke that they're making fun of that kind of stuff. Oh, grinding. Yeah, grind. Is that still a thing in video games? RJ, what are your thoughts on how Walt Simonson's run was handled on Thor Ragnarok? The movie?
I haven't got to read the entire. I'm not sure if he's talking about the books.
He's talking about the movie, I think, right? RJ?
Yeah, he's trying anyways. Don't know if Walter has too much left in him for putting out Thor, but he wants to continue it on. I haven't got the last couple of issues, so but the way that he does it, if anybody hasn't read Thor Ragnarok, it is much more close to the original Icelandic sagas.
Oh, are you talking about the new series that's not Marvel?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we're talking about three different things. So I think Tony was talking about the movie Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, okay.
About the Walt Simonson run, and then I was thinking, and you were talking about the new comic, and I was thinking about the Walt Simonson run. So all three different things. So go ahead, finish what you thought. Now that I know what you're talking about, okay.
No, I'm just saying that if you read Thor Ragnarok, which is the Walter Simonson stuff that he's putting out now, or has been putting out for the last couple of years, it's much closer to actual Norse mythology. Although it's supposed to be a continuation in his mind, it is a continuation of his Thor run that he finished with Buscema in issue, 323 or around there.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Walt Simonson took over Thor. I forget what issue number, 276 or something like that, and proceeded to make one of the greatest comic book runs of all time. He took Thor more close to actual mythology than Kirby. Kirby was like space gods kind of stuff. This was more mythology. But anyway, RJ's and I, one of our favorite runs. When he was done, he went to Fantastic Four, whatever. But IDW, he did a 12-issue series just called Ragnarok, and it's unofficially if he continued his Thor run, what would happen? And it is so good. And then he did the 12-issue run, and then I think he followed it up with a 6-issue run. And he wants to do more, but I don't know. I don't think it sold well enough for him to do more, which is a real crying shame. Real crying shame. Where are my comments? Oh, there's a PSA Leonard Nimoy about global cooling. I got to look that up. Matter of fact, I'll write a note now before I forget.
I wonder if you can look up. I'm sure I could do this after we're done, but anybody wants something funny to listen to, see if you can find Leonard Nimoy sings The Hobbit.
Yeah, Bilbo Baggins, greatest. Leonard Nimoy, global. Yeah, it's funny. Bilbo Baggins popped up first.
Yeah, I can remember that record. There was 2 records in my local comic store, the one I went to when I was a kid most, and one of them was Leonard Nimoy sings The Hobbit.
So here it is. Leonard Nimoy predicts an ice age back in 1979. Yep. Yeah. That's what the experts told us. The experts are always wrong. Experts are the new charlatans. They're not the new. They're always been charlatans. I mean, how many ads have you seen from the 50s where doctors are recommending nicotine? Telling you to smoke, putting cocaine in the medicine. You know, Walt was just
Why
on the pulp
why,
comic.
I was going to say, why do you think we have so many radiation-based superheroes? It's because in the 1950s, everything was radiation is good for you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always say this wrong. Formaldehyde, whatever, the babies that had the flippers, doctors were prescribing this medicine that wasn't tried yet, and you know, and then look at the COVID vaccination that did absolutely nothing. Did absolutely nothing at best.
At best.
Walt was just on the Walt Simonson was on my channel too. He was a lot of fun. How do you guys feel about using motion blurs and motion lines to show movements like Jack Kirby? I love it. I love the motion lines, action lines. I love it with Jack Kirby, Captain America. He always seemed to do it with Captain America. Captain America's throwing a punch at the Red Skull, and there's just lines coming out of his fist like his fist was an explosion. I love that. Nobody did action. That's Kirby's greatest. Well, his greatest thing is his imagination. His second greatest thing was the ability to show action in comics. It was supernatural.
I just finished. I got a new page for Fade to Blue, and that was one of the things I said. We're going to have to make it more clear. Put some movement lines in here.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I was talking with Renzo. We were going over script and panel, and I was saying like, I Renzo is like my favorite superhero artist right now. So I'm so happy to be working with him. And I was talking about. I said as much as art is important, but great comic book art without storytelling is a bad comic. And my example is a lot of Image stuff. Like I rag on Image, but I got to admit some of the Image guys were great artists, but they just had no connective tissue between their panels. Each panel was like, had nothing to do with the preceding panel, and that meant that the art was jarring, and you needed the words to figure out what was going on in the comic, and they were terrible writers. So, early Image comics, I think, were just disjointed messes. So we were just talking about how the importance, like, err on the side of fluidity and storytelling. What do you think about that?
Oh, I agree. I bought almost every last issue of Image Comics when it first came out for the first year or 2 years. And I just got sick of the fact that it was beautiful art and bad storytelling.
Yeah. I just not good, because the art, they were all artists, and I think they kind of looked down on writers. And after a couple of years or so, they started to realize they needed writers to it's different skills. I can't draw. Some people say I can't write either, but I at least admit I can't draw.
Everybody thinks that Jack Kirby could have done everything by himself, and that everything is Jack Kirby. But no, it's if you didn't have Stan fixing up the storylines, I don't think he would have been anywhere close to what he actually was.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I love Kirby, I think his solo stuff, the story suffered. It didn't have like a, I don't know, like a heart to it. Like I'm reading Commandy now for the first time. It is the worst storytelling. To me, Commandy is the worst thing Kirby did. It's almost like each panel has nothing to do with the panel beforehand, and it's just here's a bunch of ideas, whoop, threw them up in the air, whatever they landed, he made a comic. Whereas OMAC doing it at the same time is great.
Yeah, I would say Devil Dinosaur is probably his worst thing that I've read.
Okay, I'll say this in defense of Devil Dinosaur. At least it made sense. Each comic was like each comic, like, it didn't invalidate the comic. Like Commandy just was like, I'm gonna walk down the block. Oh, everybody's tigers, and then I'm gonna walk down the block. Everybody's monkeys. Like it was a mishmash of every movie that was popular at the time. But yeah, Devil Dinosaur wasn't that great either. I bought the complete Italian edition of Varag. They're so good, and the art is so good. You think Jack Kirby still, Walt Simonson's art has not deteriorated at all. He's still good. Thalidomide. I can never say that word. I can never say that word. Gen 13, Danger Girl. Gen 13 was the best, in my opinion, of the early Image comics. It had a writer and an artist. And I do reckon, I do know personally a bunch of artists who are just like, they kind of goof on, oh, that guy's just a writer, that guy's just a writer. But then like their comics don't make any sense. So it's like you need a writing. A comic book without good writing is just make a calendar, you know.
I used to have 3 different piles of comics on my dresser. It was just big enough to have 3 different piles of comics. One was stuff that had come in last month that I still had to read, stuff that came in this month that I still had to read, plus an extra pile. And I always made sure that Gen 13 was never on the top of the pile because I knew my mother came into my room.
Yeah. They blatantly sold that and Danger Girl. It was cheesecake. You know, Fairchild. That every issue her clothes fell off. You know what I mean? What do you want me to do? That was the selling point. It worked for me as a teenage boy. No love for Spawn. Spawn was good, but let's be honest. How many people bought and read Spawn every month? From I think I lasted eight or 9 issues. It just didn't. The writing wasn't that good. Like the concept was really good. The concept was so good, but it just petered out. Like nothing was happening. It's just spinning wheels.
It was, I want to be so edgy that I'm the best of the 90s. That's Spawn for me.
Yeah. It didn't have any stories. Like, can anybody name a great Spawn story? Like now they can. You know, I think he's hiring writers, or at least he understands the value of a story. But I mean, in the initial 5 years of Spawn, what's the great Spawn story? The great Spawn story is the origin. And how many issues did that last? You know, and I really, really like that meter that they showed, that he was losing his power, and then when he ran out of power, he was claimed by hell. And then they found a way to add energy. Once I knew that they were going to add energy to that meter, I knew it was never going to happen. And then they just eventually just did away with it. The term expert is very generic. One could be an expert in many things. Yeah. An expert is the government hires you to say something. That's what an expert is. Or a company hires you to say something. Or a college hires you to say something. Everybody, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's argument from authority. You know, it's the biggest fallacy in the world. And people still fall for it. Yes, Spawn sold millions. Absolutely. And Capullo's run, his art is amazing. His art is amazing. I'm not taking away anything. I'm just saying that to buy Spawn and to read it, it was just dull.
Especially because they were the high-end comics. I don't know if anybody who hasn't lived through the 90s remembers the fact that when Image comics came out, it was expensive.
Yes. I think the average comic was $1.25 Marvel at the time, but Image was $1.95, which is a big deal back then. Nowadays, $1.95 comic would be like, you know, give me everything. You know, what could you buy for $2 these days? You know, I remember telling myself I was going to quit comics once they went to 45 cents. I remember lunch cost 60 cents. So it was perfect. I would get lunch and a comic book every day. But if they went to 45 cents, I couldn't get lunch and a comic book every day. So I had to quit. I'm not quitting lunch.
I was struggling when it hit that dollar mark. I really struggled. It was like, can I justify buying all these comics anymore?
Yeah. And then I remember saying, as long as I could get at least 10 comics for $10, I'm fine. You know, what could you get? 2 comics for $10 these days?
Mm-hmm.
What is the cover price of a Marvel or DC comic?
I have no idea right off the top of my head now.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah. But I'm getting sleepy, RJ. So I know we've been talking for like 3 or 4 hours lately, but two hours. This is supposed to be Sal Buscema. I think we're off topic, but I'm gonna finish my dinner and go to bed.
No, sounds good. Thank everybody for showing up. Couple of channel things just to go over really quickly. Apparently, the link for Fade to Blue is no longer working. I'm going to have to find out what's going on with that for anybody who signed up. Secondly, I apologize once again to everybody, but we are getting to the very end stretch of Crom the Destroyer to do the art. We're down to the last 7 pages. So just let everybody know.
And it's going to be beautiful. Nick's art, Nick's art is just so good. I wanted to hire him, but I just can't afford it. So he's worth every penny. His art is so good.
Yep. And the last, I know that I was all over the place. If anybody has ever kept track of how many pages we're going to actually be in this book, but we're down to 72 pages is what it is.
Down to 72?
Well, it's just that that's my calculation, because Jim actually added an extra page to the first chapter, and it kind of threw off the flow of how you're supposed to flip the page. So we had to add a couple of things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 72 pages. That's a big comic. Can't wait. I can't wait. This is gonna be great. You got me into a barbarian comics, so I can't wait for this. This is gonna be good. And as far as I'm concerned, Renzo just sent me another page for Patriarch number 1. That's going to be my next crowdfund. I think I'm going to wait till the art is all done and then launch the campaign while Oscar's still coloring it. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I just don't want to be under that pressure of like, is the comic going to be done on time? Is the comic So I think I'm going to hedge my bets and launch more when we're closer to be done. And Renzo's probably going to be done at this rate by the end of February, so we can launch that. I also want to do a Christmas story. We're going to go right into that. That's like 15 pages. So we're going to do a small, comic. I'll have to make it like 16 pages because it's got to be divisible by 4. So whatever it is, we'll round it to the next 16 pages. I'll add a letters page, maybe an article. And I'll got to come up with the price for that. But I want to do a small Christmas King Fu story. And I also want to do Eddie is Doomed this year. So, and it's already a done deal. I'm going to be in Bill Williams' Punchline Comics. I got a 12-page story with my characters, and that campaign I think is going to launch in April. So this is a busy year for me. I published 80 pages of comics last year. This year my goal is 81 pages. And it looks like I'll be able to hit that mark just by what I just mentioned now. But, every year I want to do a little bit more, because I guess RJ and I are the weirdos in comic books that we think that comic books should actually come out rather than just talk about comic books like a lot of people do in this sphere and forget to produce. Vazvez says, thanks for the stream. Everybody saying goodbye. Good. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you. $4.95 is the cover price for the average Marvel in DC. $9.95 for annuals and specials. Argument for authority shouldn't be dismissed out of hand. It depends on the authority. If you're an electrician and you give me advice about wiring, I won't reject it. Yes, to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Like, just because the school. I know what you're saying, but when a politician, I don't even want to but when a politician says this, I'm just like, what are you the expert in? All you are is a guy with charisma, but yeah. Yeah. But argument authority should still be questioned, just because an electrician tells you to do something, I would stop because if he's right. But anyway, I don't even want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about it. But argument for authority is just another fallacy. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Goodbye, kids.